I'm not sharing my screen, am I?
You are.
I
Well,
am.
your camera, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do this real quick. All right, let me get my screen together down here. All right, folks. Welcome. Ooh, still got some folks on hold. Man, I do. There's a quick question, Ree. I'll
Mm-hmm.
defer.
Yep.
Do we wait another minute? Because really, this is a free flowing session. We got like six stories to go through, and then we'll continue to talk. Do we wait another couple minutes? Because I see one, two, three, four people on hold.
Yeah, I know some people. I was in the last session. I think some people left this session and then moved on to the next session. That's why you'll continue to see them on hold.
Okay.
And then we have who we have.
Okay,
So,
cool.
um, Joy, Laura, are you all live?
And Laura commented earlier.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Well, well, we're doing this for Joy. So and Laura, let's do it. Let's go with it. You have a VIP session, and of course, this is being recorded, and we'll pass it back out there for others that might be interested. But I say let's give it a go. Josh, this is what we do.
You see Ismail as well. Didn't want to ignore you. I see you as well. All right,
Oh
so
yes.
let's jump into it. Sweet. So welcome back to another episode of What Can You Do with Teams. Some of you guys came from my other session, and right now I have Ree on the call as well. Ree is one of my favorite people to talk with offline and online, so we'll have a good time here. But this session, I think, is called the Customer Success Panel session, right? Which
It
ended up
is.
ended up perfect. Ree knows. In and of itself, kind of tells you what it's about. But that's why I just kind of renamed it, to where federal customers are winning with Team Solutions, right? Team Solutions meaning apps, workflows, the whole shebang. If you don't know me at all, I am Joshua. Pleasure to meet you. I'm an apps and extensibility specialist. That's just a fancy way of saying I help you bring what's in your head kind of out into the world when it comes to putting applications in teams, whether they be line of business or cookie cutter, whatever that may be, and then making sure your entire organization can use it. So from ideation to governance to all the techie stuff, I help organizations, specifically federal agencies, do this stuff. And I work across the stack. And that's really cool because today we're going to be leveraging the fact that I can show you what's working where for who and why. And so we got a bunch of stories we're going to tell you about how people are winning. And hopefully, my sneaky plan is to get you so excited. And Laura knows this because I said it in the last session to get you so excited that you want to ping your account team and say, I saw this really loud dreadhead guy talking about what I could do in teams. I want to do that. And then make them come and talk to Joshua Armant. That's this guy, right? So sweet.
And before you start, I will say this. He does like to be interrupted. So if you want to come off mute and just say something, feel free. You don't have to wait. If you want to be polite, which I think you don't necessarily have to do with Josh, you can also raise your hand. Real quickly, my name is Ree. I'm a colleague of Joshua. We're both CSMs, customer success managers, and we're within the federal civilian side of Microsoft. Specifically, what we represent for teams. And our job, as Josh said so aptly, is just to make sure that you all are using Teams. We're help to remove blockers where we can, educate you as well, and help you to do more things within Teams that allow you to be fully autonomous, scale more, and just get a lot more efficiency out of your day. That's my story. I'm going back to you, Josh.
Oh, my brother. All right. So we'll jump into it. Yes, please interrupt. This is as formal as it may seem. This is very informal. I'm a conversation guy. So let's jump. Follow my big blue cursor. Real quick, while we're here today, just two things. One, it's story time. So I want you to understand how other agencies are using all these capabilities and these apps. Tell some stories about what it looked like, kind of ideating on these things and then getting there. So you'll see that. And then two, understand what the process for implementing these things looks like more specifically. So I'm going to walk you through what that looks like is I'll walk you through some questions that you might want to ask yourself, right? And that we actually do in our discovery process to target what our application is going to look like. And then I talk to you about what that process looks like end to end, as far as engaging my team, engaging Microsoft, and having us support you in building your said application. A lot of things you're going to see come out of the box. I'm excited because we got new things coming in the next few months that we're kind of canning for you. So it's kind of set and forget. We've kind of made it, we can just drop it into your environment. But we'll talk about what it looks like to engage my team, have you create an application and move forward in your business. Okay. So Laura, I think that's hilarious. She said you already have your email going. All right, so let me see if I click forward. Boom. We have about 5 or 6 stories lined up. I think it's 4 or 5. And then there's a ton more that I can just recite off of my head. And Ree has a ton as well. Ree's actually is going to be one that we partner on and tell. But there's a ton of stories, right? I don't know if you guys got a glimpse of there's a slide before, and I'll probably see if I can find it. But essentially, over the course of this last rolling 365, so Microsoft sort of fiscal year, we've been able to impact over 220,000 users and bring them onto more modern solutions and teams. So we've evolved the process for that many users. We've engaged over a third of the entire federal space across DoD, civilian, and Intel. So all those different spaces. That's including the clouds, GCC High, DoD. We've been able to deploy over 35 unique individual solutions in the space. And I say all that to say, if you haven't jumped on the ship, definitely come on board. You'll enjoy it. So a lot of this is going to kind of echo to that. So first on deck, we have the Treasury. So specifically in Treasury, we're talking about US Mint, and their solution was a bot. They named it Minty. I thought that was cute. With them, the specific challenge was US Mint is actually fairly small as far as the support structure for the technical piece, and they wanted a way to kind of gather and triage information in a way that was kind of user self-service. So they have a lot of users asking the same routine questions, and they didn't have a knowledge base built up, a formal knowledge base built up to address those questions. So the HR, excuse me, their help desk was getting just slammed. So essentially, we took all their assets, and so the bot structure can do this really cool thing where it can take Word documents, it can take SharePoint pages, even full-on web pages, scrape Q&A format. So let's just say, what is Josh's favorite color? Red. If it has that format or anything close to it, the intelligence can scrape that and then drop it into what we call a knowledge base for the bot. Knowledge base is just the brain, okay? The brain of the bot. Well, we did that for a bunch of FAQ articles that they had. And we were able to build a bot fairly quickly. It took about 3 build sessions, about 3 hours of working time total. Then we baited it, we tested it and whatnot, and build out something that had over 140 questions in it, right? And they named it Minty. So it supports the FAQ function, and it got a lot of love from day one, and it launched it in Teams exclusively. Bots can live everywhere. Bots can live, if you so choose, on the internet. That means outside of your intranet. They can live on SharePoint. They can even, there's a way for your bot to live on Facebook if you so choose. Very interesting, but talk about that later. But that's what you can do, what we call bot channels. But they decided to make sure their bot was exclusively accessible in Teams because they wanted to have the teamwork aspect there. They wanted to keep people in Teams, keep them on task, and not interrupt their flow. So that was really cool. So 140 questions, launched day one. And I think, honestly, we deployed this sometime in 2021. I believe it was. Don't want to lie to you. I want to pretend it's October, but I think it's a little bit earlier. I think we started beta testing it a month before. But in October, there were 140. That's probably double those questions now as they continue to expand the user base. Not user base, all the questions. So really cool. Oh, thank you, Laura. Bots are really cool. This other story, this is coming from the Department of Commerce and specifically Census. And this is a story that has to do with a line of business app. Everyone asks, what is a line of business app? It's just a fancy way of saying it's an application. It usually it's custom. It's built to do something that your business needs specifically, right? It could be a specific function of the National Park Service, or it could just be something that's so tailored to you, it's not even marketable to other people, right? But in this function, it was a Teams Hub, something that we have been pushing for a lot of users. Laura saw this last time, and I'll give you a demo of what these things kind of look like if you so choose. If you have already seen it, then we'll bypass the demo, but we'll jump into some open Q&A where I can show and tell some stuff. But the Teams Hub brings whatever you so choose, from SharePoint sites, custom applications that may be web-based, Power App-based, whatever the case may be, chat bots, external websites, you name it, SharePoint sites. brings all those things together in a single space, like a single window in Teams, and now people can get where they're going much faster, right? What we saw that we identified a segment of key highly trafficked SharePoint sites that placed them all within Teams. So a lot of you guys have places where you have to go to retrieve resources, whether that be a document, check what the procedure may be here on the SharePoint site. Maybe I need to store a document somewhere, so I need to actually add to the knowledge base or add to the repository. Those places that we frequent usually take us off app. We did that. We brought everything in app, in Teams, right? And we had more than 4,000 users, right? We call those monthly active users, but we had 4,000 users were driving this solution after the first month and a half. So it's 45 days, right? So people had migrated to using this because it was so much easier than going to all these SharePoint sites individually. And it was right next to everything they did in their work stream in Teams, which is really cool. The app included full navigation and browsing controls. If you've ever seen the Teams hub, if you were around, it's really as if you're in the internet, but you're inside of Teams. It's kind of like the Inception thing, like a dream within a dream, an app within an app sort of thing. It's really, really cool. So people didn't feel as though it was some foreign situation. It was very much so I'm in SharePoint, but I'm just not outside of Teams. Again, if you want to see that, let me know. It's pretty cool. And then Reese says, Teams Hub allows you to take Microsoft Solutions self-paced training. Yes, it does. And actually kind of in the vein of this, because I got a mixture of different solutions that we've deployed here in different stories. While we're on this one, do you want to kind of tell the story about CBP?
Yeah, so basically, I was working with a few components actually in Department of Homeland Security, where they were talking about how can we have some more self-paced capabilities for our end users. Success for them was allowing more capabilities and things that their end users could use without, as Josh would say, having additional clicks or going to help desk. So I thought that was a great way for them to use Teams Hub. So Josh and I put together a demo very similar to everything that he mentioned, and in that demo, what we like to call it is a curated view. Because if you're looking in Teams right now, well, maybe outside of this particular meeting, on the left-hand rail, you'll have your chat menu, you'll have the Teams menu, the calendar, and just think about having an additional button on the left-hand side, as he's showing us now. Great, there you go. You'd have the hub. When you click on the hub, you could have what, as I would say, this curated view, all the things that you think is important to your end users right here. They don't go anywhere else. They click hub, and now within hub, they can see their home page, whatever that home portal. Maybe it's an intranet site for that particular customer. They could click on the learning portal. When they click on the learning portal, that allows them to basically do Microsoft 365 training, and it's self-paced, and you get badges and things like that that add to your transcript, right? So it's a great way for you to learn and continue learning right within this same portal. You could also, in this case, he's using a news or web portal. Now that's just allowing you to go through like an outside web source. In this case, he's pinning Bing here, but it could be anything, right? Josh loves puppies, so it allows him to just quickly go to Bing and search on his favorite topic, puppies, right? In bow ties, because that's who Josh is, right? Also, if you wanted to, you could have a power app. In this case, we have a request a team power app. Josh, do you want to talk a little bit about what this power app does? Now, you could have any one. This is just one particular, and my customers actually liked it as well.
Yeah, and we won't go too deep on it, but to your point,
Sure.
because we have a story about this one later. That's the only
All
reason
right.
why.
So we can pause it. We'll pause it and we'll come back.
We
But
have a
just
story.
know that you could have a Power App right in here as well. Um, and the hub is solution is available to all organizations. It is an app template that we can use for your organization. We have folks in GCC, GCC High that can use this. We just will work with you to make sure that it's available. You can also do chat if you wanted to. Here's an example of the chat bot, as well as Josh also has OWA, right? So in a way, you can have you can have multiple things, and that's why I call it a curated view. These are all things that exist in your organization that you typically would have to go outside to a separate app or to a separate website or a separate SharePoint site. They all still live wherever they live, but you're aggregating all those different sources and pulling it into one view that will surface or and help your end users. So that's pretty much the few components used for my customer, and they loved it. And we saw a lot of participation in terms of monthly active usage. It just skyrocketed because a lot of these people were already going to these sources already, but outside of Teams. Now they can just live here.
And real quick, and thank you for going us through that. Joy, I see your question. Can you come off mute and talk to us? I saw you raise your hand.
Yes. So that was the question. So I think this is great. I've been trying to figure out a way for us to, I guess, build an intranet for our users in MS Teams without it being on a team. And so I think the solution is perfect. We actually have an Army hub. I'm in the Army. I'm a civilian in the Army. And so I understand the concept of hub. I just didn't know that other organizations could have a hub as well, or I'm not sure if that's true or false.
And yeah, I might have misspoke, but I know Josh will clean me up right now. So go for it, Josh.
Yeah, yeah. This hub thing is available for all of you guys in civilian, in GCC High, all that jazz. So I don't know if that answers the question, but Joy, I'm expecting.
How do we get? How does an organization go about getting a hub?
You talk to me. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at sign language. Yeah, just essentially, this is a custom app that we built for you and with you. And so if you want this and you can get me in touch with the right people to make that decision in your organization, maybe you are that right person. Then you just ping me. Usually I would tell people to talk to their account team, have their account team ping me. But Joy, I like it. So I will throw my email in the chat.
Okay.
Right.
And that goes for anyone else here as well that would like to learn more about the hub and how they could go about getting it in within their account. And we can get into more details with that as well to see if we can surface this within your individual teams in your organization.
Yeah, to drop that. And then if you have the right people to talk to, because sometimes it takes demo after demo to get people kind of bought in, let me know. And then I have no problem talking about kind of how it looks and feels, the technology behind it, any governance, security. Pick your poison, we'll take care of it. And then so I'm seeking approval. Lord, go for it. Let's go. Yeah. So that's a good question. We have a few other things that we can go through. We have a few other stories, but the hub, on a serious note, USDA is doing this. Bonnie's other customer, Social Security Administration, is doing this in a big way. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is doing this. Customs and Border Protection, of course, is a component of the Department of Homeland Security. That's Reed's customer. Who else is doing this right now? The VA, the Veteran Affairs, is doing this, and the list just goes on and on and on. This has really been a hero product this year, so pretty cool. Also, Reed, what was you gonna say?
Also, I was going to say that it's not that difficult of a lift as well. Just takes a few working sessions. Typically, we like to see a Teams admin, possibly a SharePoint admin that's along with Josh. And we pretty much have the app, make sure the app is available. And then you have the proper policies, which you can use to test at first to help build that approval, right? And then eventually what ends up happening is we make that policy enterprise wide where everybody can use it. And you can always change the way this view looks from a backhand perspective. Is very unobtrusive to your end users. There's nothing that they need to do. It just shows up when you're ready and willing.
Yep, pretty slick. Thanks, Reed. Uh, yeah, there's a ton that we can talk about here, but there's other stuff I want to go to as well. By the way, you might notice this little Outlook piece. I said it last session. If you're in there, you can actually have Outlook standalone as well. I put it in the hub, but same situation. If you want to know what that looks like, talk to me. All right, so let's go back to my presentation. Aha, there we go. So next one. This one's for US Postal. So this is actually a really cool one. Did I click it? Okay, there it is. This is a pretty cool one because this is completely custom made. The genius behind it, his name is John Scott. He developed this. It's a person that I had the pleasure of working with on my teams. But the idea is simple here. Okay. There's actually, and I'm so upset because I lost access to the demo tenant to demo this. So there's something called Me Hub, right? Don't get it confused with the hub. But the idea is that Postal was kind of she was banging around on some ideas, and they said, "Hey, I would love a very user-specific view to show me things like my tasks and planner, my my task and planner, I think it's some calendars, some flagged email, and some other things, and have about 4 or 5 components there, right? In one view. And it's a custom app, right? It's a custom app. And so every user saw something different based on their task and planner, their custom view on flagged emails, and then it had some calendar components as well, right? It was really cool. I really want to show you, and I'm so upset that I can't show you. But the big overarching theme here is we created something completely custom for the customer, right? And so if the bill fits and we can find the right use case, we can build something that's just for you. And there's tons of situations like that. VA has an app to audit. We help VA build an app to audit their ticketing process. Very interesting, right? So it's kind of like tickets on ticket process. They call it their H2 application. I'll see if I can show you some pictures of it. I should be able to. But custom apps are a thing, right? And let me see. I'm going to see if I can just jump through and show you this
And
stuff.
as you do that, Josh, one thing I want to make clear is that you don't have to start with the biggest problem or the hardest one. Usually, to get that momentum going, get more approval, is to start with something that's just something that's maybe annoying or just a small problem, not as complex. Get that win, see how easy it is and how long, does it take much to do, and then that will build the momentum so you can get to more of the bigger projects. You can always start with the big projects, but I also want to keep in mind that there are smaller ones where you can get that same success.
100%, Reed. And check this out. I got this some screenshots for you. You're going to see the evolution of this app. So we work with VA to build this app, and again, this is auditing. It's auditing and keeping track of their ticketing process. So it's very interesting. Just want to make sure the tickets are they're archived well, they're being answered, all that stuff. So watch this. Scrolling. This is kind of early days of the application, and as you look, it's going to start to kind of mature and become a little bit different. So that's the face of the application is a Power App. You can add, just so you know what you're looking at. This is the help desk portal where I can say, hey, I want to access technician dashboards to see who's kind of fixing these things. Help desk technician dashboard. Or you can be an end user and say, and this won't show up if you're not an end user. If you are an end user, you can say, I want to submit a help desk ticket. I can look at the ticket dashboard and see where my tickets are, so on and so forth. And then there's different levels of ticketing you can do too. So I can look down and this is where there was no data. Then we have data here. And so I know it may look like a little bit much, but the idea is that this was something built from the ground up with a partnership between Microsoft and VA. And this took about 2 months, right? This took about 2 months. I don't think it should take that long, to be honest, but we had to go through a bunch of people that had very specific yeses and nos on what they wanted. But to get the first working thing, it was probably like 3 weeks. 3 weeks to get the first working prototype, but it was pretty cool. So this is something that we built. And again, the idea is simple. It's not about this app specifically, but is there a custom app that may make sense for you that you will want to partner with Microsoft on? Right? Sweet. And then there's another story I want to share with you about the IRS. And the IRS, they actually just recently, more important than that, when they launched Teams, they want to make sure they didn't have team sprawl. And so team sprawl is what we say, we define it as people creating teams willy-nilly, if that's a technical term, willy-nilly, and they want to have some structure to it. So I'll show you what that app kind of looks like because it's something called the Request a Team app. It is a line of business app, but let me go here. Ooh, excuse me. It's the one that Reese said, and if I can go to the right one, I think it's here. It's the one that Reese said is, here we go. What you want to show. Right. All right, so this is the Request a Team app, and essentially with IRS, their whole idea was there's so many users there, near 100,000, I believe. They didn't want people just creating app teams here and there. They want to enforce a few things: a naming convention so that things were organized, and then templates on what the team should look like. So when they went to audit them, they could see what departments had, tapped into what templates, so on and so forth. So to make that happen, we had a solution that we had canned already. It's called Request a Team. And we just did a couple tweaks to it to kind of make it their own. So anything you see here can be tweaked. You can add spokes to the wheel, so to speak, sprinkles to the cupcake, and you'll get something of your own. And if you were in my last session, you probably saw a little bit of a walkthrough of this. If you didn't, then this is what this looks like. And it all lives in teams on the left-hand rail. The user would typically click here. They want to create a team. There's two paths. Actually, IRS has removed the from scratch path, and they just do use template, right? But if you were to use a template, click create, and then there's a ton of templates you can create. These are created of your own volition. So you name them, and then you put a description of what they might be on the right. And this description can be everything from just a bunch of words, right? Kind of telling the story of what it might be, to just something as simple as, here are the channels that'll come pre-created on the team, right? So general, announcement, budget, content, logistics on the event management team template, right? And then here are the apps that will be automatically installed here, right? So you choose all this content as you create these templates. What apps, what channels will be there? Are there private channels? All that jazz. And then once you load that up, people can kind of pick their own adventure. And you can even say this is built for people, the finance group. So the finance group team, or whatever the case may be. And then once it's a team, once they go through and request a team, we're going to build one from scratch, actually. Discard. Once they go through and request a team, so we'll say it's going to be private, build this one from scratch. Going to hit next, give it a name, new amazing team. We can check the availability and also enforce naming policies, right? So if it's not within our naming policy, it won't work. And give it a description. Awesome. Right. And what's this used for? Business reason. Awesome. And then it takes them through this wizard, right, of creating it. And once they're done creating this whole thing, adding owners and members and all that jazz, they can go to my requests and we'll discard this one. And they can see where their requests are. I have some requests that I haven't submitted. My new amazing team I haven't submitted, but it's kind of archived it. Pending approval. I got one that was created, right? So it was approved and the team was created. It happens automatically, by the way. And so you can tell how this was really impactful for when you're first launching teams and you're trying to get people to have teams be organized and not have them sprawl out. So IRS really appreciated this. Pretty cool. Any questions in the right? Nope. Good. And then I want to kind of walk you through some of the thought processes before we go into the last bit of Q&A. The thought that goes into making some of these decisions on what we built. So let me go to here, right? Let me go here. Right. So while all these questions don't have to be memorized, this is something that we take you through step by step. I do want you to kind of look. And so we call these our platform opportunity discovery questions. Don't get too hung up on any question, but just kind of get your mind around what's possible. So first, we talk about, hey, there's only two things you can do when it comes to building an app in Teams. Either we're centralizing resources or workspaces within Teams, so things that aren't in Teams, we're bringing them into Teams in a modern way, or we're automating a modern process, automating or modernizing a process that's otherwise kind of old, right? Those are the only two things you're doing, right? And that's kind of cool because it's not that complex. And so we start by asking the question, what can't your business do today that you wish they could do, right? Speaking to productivity, workflow, all that jazz. And that's kind of the framing question. What can't you do that you wish you could? And then you say, let's get more specific. What widespread routine process What's a process that takes too many steps? Have you considered automation? Something might pop up. And these are thought starters, as we call them, right? We'll say, what widespread routine process requires you to context switch the most? Kind of go from app to app to app. Have you considered consolidating them? Okay. You might say, I have to jump to SharePoint, to Teams, to external website, right? You might say, what widespread mission-based objective? Something that's important to the mission of your agency is important for your business or business unit or agency this year. What's your charter this year? Could an app or automation accelerate its achievement? And we go on and on with these questions, and we have this virtual build out to where we're really, really digging into, okay, this is something that's a little bit cumbersome, right? What matters most to your agency, right? From a missions or operations perspective, what actions are you taking to support it? What current line of business applications that you have right now, we can just plug into Teams and make them more centrally accessible. So there's a ton of things here. And the list goes on and on and on. Ask from hires up around process automation. What are some core IT functions you want to simplify or automate? What would your business unit or agency like to accomplish this year operationally? What's your operational charter? And then finally, in addition to everything you see here, or everyone here, who else can we talk to get some more perspective on these questions? And once we kind of get these things bundled, we can move forward and start thinking about what your app looks like. Either we got something in the ticker already for you, or we can build something custom. Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if those questions kind of spin up some ideas on apps that you might need or solutions that you might need. Put a 1 if those questions sort of make sense. Joy says 1. Laura says 1. It's coming through. Yeah, awesome. And with that, I kind of want to conclude this piece and jump to Q&A formally with this piece. Just so you have an idea, it's a very simple process, super simple process. When you engage us to build something for you, oops, let me go back. When you engage us to build something for you, it's pretty simple. So there's 3 phases, 1, 2, and 3. 1 is discovery and ideation, where we figure out what the problem is. 2 is development and security review. So we build something, run through security review, make sure it's kosher, it will be fine, right? And then finally, we pilot and deploy. And what that looks like is we align with the customer and the use case, and we understand the problem and parameters. We do a lot of that question answering that we just went through, right? Ideally, we agree on some timelines, but if not, that's fine. But we move on to development now. We assign some technical resources to you. And then across about 3 working sessions is usually all it takes. A working session is an hour to build this application. So we host those working sessions, deploy to a test tenant or in a ring-fenced environment. So if you don't have a test tenant, we can isolate that app to 4 or 5 people in tech or in IT and say, hey, these people can bang on this app, test it, beta test it, all that jazz. And then finally, we submit an app for security review if we so need to, right? And throughout this process, we're getting we're getting an understanding of what your parameters are with your environment, and we're tailoring everything we do to you specifically. Then finally, once we submit the app for security review, they love it. There's no vulnerabilities. Everything's good, which is the case in 99.all% of our situations. Then we go to pilot and deploy, because maybe you want to expand that user base to maybe 100 people you want to test it with. And so we migrate that app over to your production environment, or we unring fence it, right? And drop it into a beta situation or a pilot situation. And then we work with you all on governance and formally deploy things. So when we say governance, it's a big word, but it's not that big of a task. It's a big task and has a lot of weight to it. But that conversation is actually pretty simple. We work with you on, how do we do permissioning around this app? And not just from a philosophical standpoint, but what does it look like to click through and say, this person can, this person can't, this person should, and this person should? How do we expose this app in a way that's secure for your environment? We work you through that click through the admin centers, Azure admins, team admins, all that jazz. We take care of you. So there's nothing to worry about there. And then we formally deploy that app alongside you. And believe it or not, this whole process, A to Z, phase 1 to 3, doesn't have to take an enormous amount of time. Maybe a month and a half, couple months if you have the right acceleration and the right buy-in. Doing the work is the shortest amount. Like doing the work, we can probably get this taken care of in a month's time, tops, maybe 3 weeks, right? But it's really some of the conversations around the application, some of the gatekeepers that we have to talk to and get on board that may take a little longer, but it doesn't have to be a very long process. And that's what it looks like. Let me hit escape. and see if there's any questions. And now let's formally go to Q&A. Questions, comments, thoughts? Joy?
So, just based on the demonstrations and you talking through the apps that you guys built, it seems these are deployed at the tenant level. Is that correct?
Yes, at the tenant level. So we can, just to make it clear, we can make them available to users in your application store. So it'll says that there's a little component of your store that'll say built for your organization in the store, and you can deploy it in that way. We have done that. What we usually like to do is deploy it at the tenant level and say we want it to be deployed for this pocket of users based on security group, Office 365 group, distribution list team, whatever grouping they are in, we can do that.
Okay, so you can, okay. And I'm still on the hub thing because in the Army, in our environment, we already have an Army hub. And so when you were demoing and talking through it, I was like, oh, this might not be something realistic for my organization because we are a MACOM, but we're not the Army. And so I was just concerned that this would not really be viable for us.
I'm sorry, I don't know what a MACOM is. Can you help me with that?
So in the Army, they have several commands, and then within each command, they have sub-major commands. And so we are a sub-major command. We are one of 2 or 3 in Army Futures Command.
So if I may ask Joy, it's almost like if we wanted to say in an organization, you wanted to make the hub available just for the finance group, but not for the enterprise wide. It seems like that's something that basically that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, if you wanted to, you could do that. That's just what basically in Teams you can do what they call setup policies or app policies. Well, setup policy will tell you where it's going to be on the left-hand rail or whatever. Or is that the app policy? Don't listen to me. Josh will clear that up. But either way, within Teams, you can segment who can get it, who can see it and use it. So it doesn't have to be the whole organization. It could be a sub-segment of the organization.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So you would need, of course, assistance from the team admins for that. First of all up, they'd have to agree that this is something they want to do. And then the team's admin, right? And then the team admins would then say, okay, here are the folks or the areas that can have access to this particular Teams hub.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see. If you build your own app, Laura, I see. If you build your own app, can MS still assist with the security review? We're looking to launch our app June 15th, but we need a test week. Hey, talk to me, Laura. I'd love to support you.
So I want to make sure that, everything is sound with security and everything. I have, since we've worked together, I have been doing work upon work upon work on the app, so it looks completely different. So I just want to make sure everything's secure enough.
Yeah, we can for sure, and we can take it offline too, because you're specifically talking about the ORMDI app. But yeah, for sure.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think with that said, we have a minute left, but I want to turn it back over to you, Josh, or to anyone else if there are any existing questions or anything we haven't touched or anything you may not be clear on based on what was presented today. Silence means all is well. Josh, back to you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much. If there's, and Laura, I know I saw you say you wanted Hub. If there's anything else you guys find important or you want to reach out, I threw my email in the chat. I'm pretty sure I did.
You did.
Yeah. Ping me, and then we'll get in touch with the right people to help convince some folks that what you saw is actually a really good thing for your organization. And so with that, thank you guys for your time. I know it's not always easy to listen to tech constantly, but I appreciate your time. We appreciate your time, of course. You guys have a wonderful day. Laura, I see you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your participation. Enjoy the rest of the, the sessions if you can, or if not, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all.
See you all.